Well, we're 2 for 2 on great games so far. The Mavs win this one. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The Mavs shot very well from 3. The Clippers did not. And I'm sure that's going to be up and down for both teams as the series goes along. Really, to me, the story of this game was just the double teams. In the second half, it was like double team Kawhi, and of course, double team Luka. First half, the resistance on Luka just wasn't there. Switching Zubats onto him. And sure, he made step backs off of that. He had one fadeaway mid-range that was pretty tough. But still, he was able to get into those shots comfortably. Because Zubats just can't get up on Luka like that. And eventually they brought the doubles, they started picking him up full court, and that's the type of thing you've got to do. And then he was just killing him with the passing, and the big thing there was the Mavs kept going to the rim. There was that Porzingis cut where he had that really big dunk, which pretty much sealed it. You had at least one layup that I remember from Hardaway. Jalen Brunson went to the basket as well, and some of his were just off of his own stuff, but I felt like at least one was off of a Luka trap, unless I'm crazy. And of course, the threes went in. Finney-Smith and Hardaway Jr. on top of Luka being the main ones, and Hardaway had a bunch of gutsy threes. The one I remember the most was just the one in Kawhi's face. You saw the Mavs offense just clicking on all cylinders tonight. And what the Clippers can tell themselves is if they do a little better of a job of the next thing after forcing Luka to pass out on top of just Finney-Smith and Hardaway not shooting as well from 3. The counter to that is, number one, Porzingis didn't play that well. And look, I predicted the Clippers to win this series because I don't believe in Porzingis to be really, really good. I would also like to think he'll be better than 4 of 13 shooting and not able to body people up in the post and missing his threes. The other thing to say too, though, is with the made threes of the Mavs, this is what they do. This is their game plan. It's the reason why they were one of the best teams in the league the last whatever chunk of the season. So you can tell yourself, well, eventually they're not going to go in, and then before you know it, you're down like 2-0 or something, you know what I mean? So it's got to be a little bit more of closing out, and that can be a lot to ask of a defense, to double team Luka or just play really solid and not allow him to get inside while closing out to shooters. But that's what it is. That's how Dallas is set up. They put 5 shooters out there. They had like 2 minutes where it was Kleba and Powell's like the one guy who is not super threatening from 3 that's going to play a lot. Although Melly played a few minutes and Cauley Stein as well, so I guess there might be a couple dudes. But for the most part, Dallas is banking on you either can't defend Luka or you can't defend us from 3. And in this game, in the first half, it was Luka. Second half, it was from 3, and still a little bit of Luka. And if you're the Clippers, I don't know. You've got to be great on all those things. And they should have the personnel to do it. They went to no center for stretches of this game to give themselves a little more speed on defense. And you'd like to think between Kawhi, Morris, Batum, Beverly, PG, Rondo, and Reggie Jackson out there occasionally, that you could have enough speed and on-ball defense and just guys who know how to defend to force Dallas to be uncomfortable at times. And again, you just hope that a couple of the threes don't go in. Now, that said, if you're going to trap Luka and you don't have a rim protector in there, then you might just be giving up layups and dunks the whole time. So we'll see. They had a wing player on Porzingis most of the game, and for the most part, it pretty much worked. And whether that's going to be Porzingis just doing a better job of making you pay for putting a smaller guy on him, or it's got to be having him in action on and off the ball, we'll see there. He was also just 1 for 5 from 3, and you assume he's not going to shoot that poorly all series. As for the Clippers offense, I think Kawhi and PG had some nice plays when they had guys on them. The one I remember the most was PG throwing it into the corner to Kawhi, or maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember exactly, but it's basically that type of stuff. In terms of having the super layered pass-heavy motion offense, it's pretty much never going to happen with the Clippers. I don't think it has to. That said, if you have a team like Dallas who was double-teaming Kawhi a lot, I feel like it's just going to force the Clippers to really be on the same page. And they can space the floor out well. I mean, they can go to Ibaka at center, and the spacing is still good. But I still feel like if the Mavs lean into this more of bringing multiple defenders to the ball and having a bit of a zone defense around that, let's just see how the Clippers deal with that. I mean, I don't remember if they did that a lot in last year's series. It's tough to remember at this point, but, they forced the ball out of Kawhi's hands, and, they had Kleba on Kawhi, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't in the one-on-one scenario. Same thing with PG. I mean, PG had a couple of pull-ups where he just created something himself, but I remember at least one or two turnaround jumpers that were the result of the Clippers not having a whole lot to go to on offense. So, while the percentages for the day for the Clippers mainly just boiled down to they missed their threes, it still felt like to me there could have been a little more either motion offense or something. It just seemed like there were a number of buckets where it was just PG or Kawhi being really good. Now, as I say that, they didn't have many turnovers, so that's nice, which is usually what happens when you don't have a super pass-heavy offense, and for everything I'm talking about, they had the same number of assists as Dallas. Should also be said, when Rondo was out there, it felt like there was a little bit more of stuff happening off the ball. I know I'm not exactly going into super detail about it, but I don't know. I have kind of a blah feeling about the Clippers' offense in this game. One question I have with the Clippers offense is, will we see a lot of Kawhi in the post moving forward in the series? Because, I mean, if they're going to bring the double on Kawhi, then if you have him moving off the ball, then that could allow him to get something going. And yeah, I know they would bring the double when he's in the post, but depending on how you arrange that and where the spacing is, you could give him a few seconds to then get to his turnaround jumper. And, I mean, the best thing is, of course, he's just getting downhill to the rim, but again, if they're going to throw 2 or 3 guys at him and force him to pass, then that just could be another way to get him his shots. So yeah, and I know a lot of people wanted to see how would the Clippers handle adversity, and I mean, this isn't super adversity. They're down 1-0. Teams go down 1-0 all the time. But it's at least a little bit, and we saw what happened last year, so, this is the moment where it's like, all right, you got Rondo. Is he going to be a voice in the locker room? Is whoever else going to be a voice in the locker room? And are you just going to not let it get worse? I mean, this is the most basic thing I could say, but 1-1 versus 2-0 is very different. And for this Clippers team, I mean, we saw what happened once Denver figured him out a bit and they started going at Montrez and all that. The Clippers, they freaked out. You got to have some form of togetherness to get through that sort of thing. And this is, of course, not that at the moment, but it could be if you don't win the next one. And again, 3-point shooting was huge, and that's going to swing up and down and whatever else as the series goes on. But, if the Clippers are really going to be title contenders, you're going to have the chemistry to just not go down 2-0 in round 1. It's not too much to ask for, right?